Greetings YouTube, this is Toy Customizer, Wake Angel 2001. And as the title says, let's do a quick history lesson on the story of the robot Sonics. Everybody's familiar with the two basic forms of mechanical hedgehog that Sonic has faced in the video games. One is the now iconic Metal Sonic, and the lesser known Mecha Sonic. Now both of these robots have seen many forms, but despite all the various incarnations that Sonic has faced over the years, it's always been basically two models. Metal Sonic, which matches Sonic's speed, and Mecha Sonic, which is all huge and bulky. Of course, the cartoons and the comic books added a couple more, like Pseudo Sonic, or the Mecha Sonic, which was Sonic roboticized, but that leads to a history. For you see, in the comic book, Dr. Robotnik scanned Sonic after he roboticized him and saved the plans in his computer. He then used those plans to build himself a new model of Sonic robot, one which he dubbed Silver Sonic, which was basically the roboticized Sonic pumped up with robotic steroids to the nth degree. And if you look, Silver Sonic is actually the comic book's version of the video game Mecha Sonic, but he got a whole bunch of development in the comic book that he never got a chance in the video games. After his initial introduction in the Death Egg saga, Silver Sonic was introduced at the end of the Sonic Adventure arc. They called him Silver Sonic Mk3, a little smaller, but much faster and with a better artificial intelligence. This version of the robot also makes a brief cameo appearance in the hub world of Sonic Adventure. If you look around in Robotnik's lair, you see him in a tube. Of course, in the comic book, he was reprogrammed to defend Station Square and was destroyed by Shadow in the Sonic Adventure 2 cross. And we hadn't heard from Silver Sonic for a while until the most recent issue of the comic, number 225. Well, the issue's been out for a while, so I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but basically Dr. Robotnik, well, Eggman, has rebuilt the Death Egg, and it wouldn't be a Death Egg without a Silver Sonic robot to guard it. So this is Silver Sonic Mk3, and Sonic reacted pretty much the same way I did, with elation at the appearance of a cool new Sonic robot. And yes, it is this guy that I will be making a custom of today. So let's celebrate Sonic's 20th anniversary with a custom of Silver Sonic Mk3. Mk3. 3. I meant to say 3. Stupid movie maker cutting me off. Okay, so the base figure for Silver Sonic Mk3 is going to be the 5-inch Sonic figure. The 5-inch figure is not my favorite mold. The hips don't really move right, they go out instead of forward, and the head sculpt is just a little bit off, but he works for my purposes. I noticed something about this figure is that he was a lot easier to stand than my Black Knight 5-inch figure, and I wondered why. Then I cut his head open and found out that his internal spines were hollow. I'm not sure if they did that for the old figure too, but if I had known that, I would have swapped this head onto my old figure's body and cut up the old head. By the way, this was the Sonic Colors figure that came with the two wisps, and did you know that the white wisp has a waist joint? Like we need to have articulation on this little jellyfish thing, let's give it a waist joint. Okay! I don't know, I found that silly. So here's the basic sculpting that I did in the head. I had to reshape the eyes, of course, and sculpt on Silver Sonic's new spines, which are much more sword-like. Instead of cone-like, like the actual Sonic spines, Silver Sonic has very sword-like spines. And painted up and given a nose, it actually does make a pretty striking and fearsome visage. I wasn't able to recapture the shape perfectly because of, the way Sonic's head goes, but I think I got a pretty close approximation that does look pretty menacing. Okay, now the hands. As you can see, he has some pretty massive fingers. What are those massive fingers? They're actually spines. Yeah, every time I took a Sonic figure or a Shadow figure, and I had to cut their spines off to make different characters like Knack the Weasel, I held on to their spines, and I've held on to them for all this time, and finally found a use for them. What I did was I cut Sonic's regular fingers in half, and then glued these things onto the tip to make much larger, more menacing fingers, which is actually pretty cool considering the materials I used to make it. There is, however, one drawback to the 5-inch figure in customizing, and that's, aside from the head and hands, you can't really take anything off. The pegs for the shoulders and hips are way too big, so the arms and legs don't come off. So this is another one of those customs where I have to work on the figure as one big piece, which is just so much harder. Well, anyway, I reattached the hands and I sculpted on the armor bits, and you look down at the feet, you see those little black things that I stuck in there. Those are attachment points for toy car wheels. You know, because Silver Sonic, because of his mass, can't move very fast, so Robotnik installed jet thrusters in his legs and wheels in his feet to allow him to have quick bursts of speed. And I thought, well, why not make the official toy have functioning wheels in its feet too? I met limited success with the wheel things. The wheels I installed do turn. They don't exactly spin, so, you know, this guy won't be rolling around in those feet anytime soon. But, you know, they match the look, and it's nice to have that point of articulation. The shoulder pads are actually proof that hoarding is good. They are made from the tips of Sonic's feet which I had cut off way back on my second ever commissioned figure, Akuma the Hedgehog, who had to have bare feet with toes for his figure. So I cut the tips off Sonic's feet so I could sculpt on toes. And I'd saved those tips ever since, thinking I might need them at some point. And finally, here on my Silver Sonic, like, hey, these are the perfect size to make his shoulder pads. So, yes, this is the completed Silver Sonic. He has a fairly muted gray and white color palette with the yellow bars for his rocket exhaust going around his calves and the bright red feet with the little wheels. So, aside from the tornado, this is my biggest custom, my first ever custom using a 5-inch figure, and I don't think I want to work with the 5-inch figure in the future because it's kind of a headache to work with, but damn if it didn't make a pretty darn cool Silver Sonic Mk3. So, let's end it with this little pin-up picture of showing the size comparison between the regular Sonic figure and my Silver Sonic figure. And I would like to thank Sonic Team for creating Sonic the Hedgehog, and, well, you know, happy 20th birthday, Sonic! I hope to see another 20.